morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to ACI, a foundation course on how karma works. And we are well into our second half of the course already. Hard to believe. So before we get started, we've been learning about how to make our karma more powerful. And so before we do the class, let's take a moment to think about your motivation for being here. What brought you here today? What is the highest goal? Think big. How can you direct your energies in this hour? Could there be something specific in this class that could help you attain your highest goal? Sashi Puki Jukshin Meto Tram Rira Blingshi Ninde Gempadi Sangye Shindu Mikde Owargi Drokun Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Sangye Chudan Suki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chushe Gipe Sunam Ki Jola Penshir Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chudan Suki Chukdam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsho. So last time we covered some tricky material, right? Three beings walking into a non-bar, looking at a glass of wet and flowing. Does anybody have any questions from the material that we've covered so far? That last class or any other one? See, I knew you guys were suspicious. I'm just teaching this so I can get the the good karma for sharing the teachings. You guys already know everything. Okay, cool. Oh, there's a question. When we talk about material cause and contributing factors, is it in the higher middle way school? Um, from my understanding, um, that the consequence branch of the middle way accepts the presentation of karma. Uh, with the exception of the mind only school's idea that there has to be a whole other consciousness, the foundation consciousness that holds seeds and then also uh, presents itself as ripened seeds. But, the consequence branch would say that yes, there is a nirlingikyu, a material cause, something that came before that is of the same stuff. And then there are other factors that contribute to what seed ripens into an experience before some other seed, for example. Where and how can I get more Buddhism points of view among 4 schools? Great question. Many of you know I'm a translator with the Shuangsung's Tower, and there are a couple of books out already that discuss the different schools, like comparison of different schools. One is the book that Ben Kramer worked on, which is Great Ideas. I think it's translated as Great Ideas. Let me just double check here. What is that title? Great Ideas of the East. And in that, yeah, thank you. And in that, that's written by Chuni Lama Dragpa Shedrup, and that gives a presentation about different philosophical schools' points of view. You could skip the whole front part, which is about non-Buddhist schools, but it is also interesting reading to find out, what other people think is going on in the world, right? The book that I worked on as well, called Emptiness Meditations, that's also by Chuni Lama Dragpa Shedrup, and it pretty much limits to the points of view related to how things exist. So, what is selflessness or emptiness, and then what is the gotcha? What is the thing that is denied by that particular understanding of selflessness or emptiness? And then, of course, each of the translators is working on a text from a different Buddhist philosophical school's point of view. So I can say that attending the free classes that happen 3 times a week, if you can, you get doses of the different philosophical schools ideas as we go through these. We get teachings from Geshe Michael on these texts. Um, I hope that helps. Any other questions? I do think it's so important to learn about the different philosophical schools' ideas. I, rather than just like, oh, well, the consequence branch, that's the highest school. That's the most correct. I should just study that. But understanding the other school's ideas can allow you to understand the consequence branch in a deeper way. So it's great to see your interest in that. Okay, so today we're going to go back to, we spent a couple of classes from the point of view of the Mahayana, so, or the greater way, greater vehicle. And today we're going to go back to the Hinayana, or the lesser vehicle. Lesser, again, not because it's less than, but because the people who practice that path specifically, they are doing so for their own individual freedom. And the Mahayana, the greater vehicle, are people who are practicing for the purpose of not only themselves becoming enlightened, but also so that they can benefit others to become enlightened. The lesser vehicle is the foundation for the greater vehicle, which is what we're learning as we study karma. So today we're going to talk about a few more different ways that we can categorize types of karma. And we're going to start off with black and white karma. So we talked before about virtue and non-virtue. And this is just a slightly different way of thinking about that. Say nakboy le. Nakboy le. Nakbo means black, and lay means karma. So black karma. Now, when we talk about this particular division, we're going to have black karma, white karma, and black and white karma. So to talk about this division or way of thinking about karma, we have to remind ourselves about the different realms within the cycle of suffering existence, within samsara. So if we divide samsara into 3 realms, what do we get? Can anyone tell me? Does anyone know? Desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. Thank you so much. So 3 different realms. we can't see two of them. We can't see the form realm or the formless realm, and the formless realm, not just because there's no form there, so there's nothing to see. But we are in a different realm. We are in the desire realm. That's where we're sort of, for the moment, in a way, stuck. Now, in the Wheel of Life Tanka, the painting that's inside each Buddhist temple that portrays how, what is in the realm, what is in samsara, what kind of beings are there, and how do they circle around. We talked last time about Lord Maitreya's presentation of how we cycle through samsara, but the Wheel of Life presentation has 12 different levels or steps that you pass through. But there are 6 kinds of beings in that, in the Wheel of Life Tanka. There are 6 kinds of beings in the in samsara. So the desire realm has the most different kinds of beings. We've got hell beings. We've got craving spirits or hungry ghosts. Pretas is the Sanskrit word. We've got animals. Hey, finally, someone that we recognize. We can see animals. And we've got humans, of course. We've also got demigods and gods. And those are all the 6 type of beings who are in the desire realm within the circle of suffering. So we can't see the lower beings of the desire realm or the higher beings of the desire realm, nor can we see the beings that are in the other 2 realms, the form realm and the formless realm. Those who are in the formless realm have no physical bodies, as I said. Beings in the form realm, interestingly, even though they're in the cycle of suffering, they don't commit bad deeds. They don't do non-virtue. They are in deep states of meditation. Those who are in the form and formless realms are in deep states of meditation. So they don't commit non-virtues. They still have the bakchaks, the karmic propensities, the karmic seeds to have future negative experiences, but they're not creating new ones. So when they die and pass out of the form or formless realm, typically they go down to a very low kind of rebirth. So one of the most likely one of the lower within the desire realm, like as a hell being or as a hungry ghost or as an animal. And just to say, because it's always good to say, the human the human form of life is is the most conducive for us to reach enlightenment, whether that's the enlightenment of the greater way or the enlightenment of the lower way, whether we're talking nirvana or whether we're talking total and complete enlightenment. Because we are not in so much suffering that we can't think of anything else, we do have some pleasant experiences. So, for example, we are able to study, we are able to serve other people, we are able to meditate, we are able to think, to keep our mind on something for more than a millisecond. If you've ever watched an animal, you see how they scurry about in fear most of the time. And then the higher beings in the desire realm are just, they're just sort of, they're overtaken by feeling pleasant, by having good feelings, good food, good sex, good environment. They have good everything. They don't think about suffering. So in the form and formless realms, they're not creating new karma, but they still are within the suffering realm. There are different ways to talk about suffering, one of which is to talk about the three kinds of suffering. There's the suffering of suffering, which is feeling physical or mental pain. There's the suffering of change, which is that even though a positive experience may come, it must end in the realm of samsara, in the cycle of pain. Good things don't last. And then the third one is something called pervasive suffering, or kyapa duje ki duknyo. And that is that we must die. We must leave this life and go through the whole thing of, being born, getting sick, getting old, and dying over and over and over. That is pervasive among all three realms within this cycle of suffering. Okay, so all three realms in samsara are suffering. The desire realm has all three kinds of suffering, but the form and formless realm, they only experience pervasive suffering. So black karma, that refers to not only having, when it ripens, having some sort of suffering experience, but it also refers to the type of being who created that karma. And so here it's referring to those who are in the desire realm. Okay, so to experience that kind of suffering, you must be in the desire realm. So black karma is experience of pain, suffering, and then also done by someone who is in the desire realm. So more specifically about the first part, its essence is suffering. The essence of black karma is it has to do with mental afflictions. It doesn't mean it is a mental affliction, but that it is afflicted. So if we talk about the four Arya truths, the truth of suffering, the truth of causes of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, and the truth of the path to the end of suffering. We talk about the first two, the truth of suffering and the truth of the causes of suffering. Black karma is related to those two. And the result is suffering. So then we have, does anyone know carpal? This word carpal? Yes, great, thank you. It means white. So karpoile, that means white karma. And this is described as virtuous karma in the form realm. So its essence is that it is a virtue, and its result will be some sort of pleasant experience. Now, because this is within the cycle of suffering, that pleasant experience is going to come to an end, you know. So we're not talking pure karma. We're talking white karma. So it's still within samsara, still within the cycle of suffering. It is a pleasant result. So that's nice. But it's can only be created by people in the form realm. Then the next one, karnak drepa. So we had nak, which is black. We had kar, which is white. And then drepa means to mix together. So this just means black and white mixed. And this refers to virtue in the desire realm. So black karma alone is non-virtue in the desire realm. Black and white karma mixed together is virtue in the desire realm. Now, why is black and white mixed together? That sounds confusing, right? The virtue is always white. That's why white is there. It's always a positive or pleasant or desirable result, right? Some experience of something pleasant. But the black part in black and white karma mixed just refers to the beings who created this karma. And the beings who created this karma are in the desire realm, and therefore they're actively suffering like all the time, right? There's the suffering of suffering and the suffering of change and the all-pervasive suffering. So it's this karma is tainted by the beings being in a suffering existence. Okay, we can't do totally white or white only karma in the desire realm. It's always tainted by suffering. Then there is another kind. It's not on your homework, But just to like round out the discussion, there's something called sakme kile. Say sakme kile. Sakme kile. Sakme means unstained or pure. So sak means stain, and me means without. And lay, of course, is karma. And then ki just turns this word sakme into an adjective of karma, in case you wanted to know how that fits together. So according to the Abhidharma, this kind of karma, unstained karma, doesn't have a white result or a black result. Its function is to remove black karma. So in the Abhidharma, unstained karma removes black karma. And an example of unstained karma would be like the direct perception of selflessness is an unstained karma. It's a kind of pure karma that wipes out the bad, the black karma, the black seeds. So this does seem to counter what I just said earlier. And so, it would be nice to have access to an Abhidharma scholar to do a little debate. If it's if those of us in the desire realm can't do a white karma, can't do a karma that's can't do a white karma, but we can do an unstained karma. I would want to know why. Why couldn't we do an unstained karma, but we can't do a white karma? And I know it has something to do with the fact that I'm here in this desire realm, and I am, constantly in the throes of suffering. And yet still, I can do an unstained karma that will remove black karma. It's just a little confusing to me. And hopefully it's clear for you. When you do the reading, especially, I hope so. So when they talk about Buddhas, Geshe Michael just mentioned this in his class when he taught this. They don't talk about Buddhas having, they don't use the word karma when they talk about the actions of a Buddha. I've asked this question of different teachers, and one teacher told me that enlightened beings are beyond karma. Another teacher said that enlightened beings still, they're forced to create karma and forced to experience karma, but for them, it's all positive. It's all unstained. It's all pure. They are forced to be someone who benefits all other beings. They are forced to experience pleasure in every moment. It's just we don't call it karma because it's so pure. Another interesting thing Geshe Michael talked about was this word namin, which we've had before, which means ripened or cooked, right? So a karma, when it ripens into an experience, that's called namin. And apparently this word namin is only used it's only used to describe karma ripening into an experience in the suffering realm of existence, in samsara. They don't use it to talk about, what seeds are ripening into an enlightened being's experience. They don't use that word. So when you talk about a Buddha, you don't use the word karma or lay, typically, and you don't use the word namin, ripened karma. One more thing to say about Buddhists. Someone could ask, isn't karma movement of the mind? And Buddhist minds move, right? Right? That's a sempa. So why isn't that called karma? And Geshe Michael said that from the Svatantrika point of view, the Ranggyupa, or the independent branch of the Middle Way School, that sempa, that movement of the mind that we call karma, is it has to be motivated somehow by a negative thought. And Buddhists don't have those. Okay. Now we've talked about all these different sorts of karma. We've talked about different sorts of karmas. We've talked about different ways we can think about them, different ways we can categorize them, different ways we can make them weaker or more powerful. So now we're going to talk about how we can bring karma to an end. How we can bring white and black karma to an end. So there are two how to talk. I'm sorry, it's just a little bit tricky. While we're in this cycle of suffering, even those of us who are studying the Buddhist teachings, who have some desire to get out of the realm of suffering, even there's still some driver to want to be here. there's still some desire to be in this life. Now, it's like, for example, if you well, you want to have a good meal, but maybe you're not thinking about, I want to have some tasty food because let's see, and I want to, because then I can share with other beings, and then by bringing happiness to others, I'm creating good karma, right? That would be a virtue, and I'm working on collecting my store of virtue so that I can get out of suffering, right? We normally just think, I want ice cream because I like ice cream. I want the sweet taste of ice cream. I know it only lasts a little while. That's okay. I'll be happy for a little while. So like that. Like we're not always thinking about to everything that we do being to get us out of suffering. So there's some motivation to be here in this realm, which is just kind of weird. It is kind of weird. So if we think about the Lamrim, and the Lamrim is divided into 3 sections: teachings that are for people who have what's called a lesser motivation. They just don't want to be born in the lower realms, right? They don't want to be born as a hell being, a hungry ghost, or an animal. Then there are a group of teachings related to those who have a medium motivation. And the medium motivation is to get out of the realm of suffering altogether. And then there are the group of teachings related to the people with higher motivation, which is to become completely enlightened for the benefit of helping others also become enlightened and out of suffering. So that from the Abhidharma point of view, when you get to the point of a person with medium motivation, if you are someone who has renunciation in your heart, then you finished your black and white karma from the way that they're talking about it. Okay, you're no longer interested in collecting a karma that's going to give you a nice result within the circle of suffering. Do you enjoy things? Yes, you do. But you don't lose that idea is in your mind 24/7 about wanting to get out of the realm of suffering. Okay. Now, it's not, well, it is challenging because we're in the desire realm. We are beings who desire things. And so we're in the realm we're in for a reason. We like it here. So in that sense, it's a little tough to want to get out of this realm. There are things about it that we like. But if we apply our understanding of the teachings, we can loosen that grip and and not have desire to stay here in the realm of psychic existence. So, right, not every moment, but some moments of the day. So we're going to talk about how do we keep this idea in our mind. So, according to the Abhidharma, there are two ways that we can remove desire for this suffering life that we're in. The first way, where's my, oh, there it is, right there, is called Jikden Pelam. Say, Jikden Pa Lam. Jikden Pelam. So Jikden, I think we've had this word before. It means the world. The world. So, and Lam is path, we just had. So this is the worldly path. And what this is referring to is basically it's a path of meditation where you spend like your life in retreat, or you spend the most part of your day in meditation. And there are people who do this. Not very many, but there are people who do, who they get into deep states of meditation, and that is a very pleasant experience to be in deep meditation. And in their mind, even though their body, their physical body is here in the desire realm, their minds start going up, then go into the form realm. There are 4 levels of the form realm, and then into the formless realm. There are 4 more levels above that. So a person here who does a lot of meditation and is focused on meditation, maybe not so much as like a way to see emptiness directly, but just as a way to, not be involved with the suffering life. A lot of people practice just breath meditation. And at certain levels of meditation, that can feel good. From the point of view in the tradition, the lineage that we are in, we only have to get to the first level of the preliminary stage of the form realm in that level of meditation. And the reason we get there, the reason that we practice and hone our ability to control our mind, is so that from a deep state of meditation with a mind that is single pointed and joyous and aware and awake, we can place our mind on selflessness, on emptiness, on the lack of a me that exists from its own side. Because then when we do, we are a stream enter. We are in the river that's headed towards enlightenment, right? So we only have to go so far. We're like, for me, I'm really not interested in higher levels of meditation. I only want to get to that point where if I turn my mind to emptiness at that level, I will be on my way out. That's what I want to do. I want to get out of here. I don't want to be in higher and more pleasing states of mind, in these other form realms. But this worldly path is, you get to the first level of the form realm and it's pleasant. And as you continue on, those of you who meditate know this, that meditations seem to go in a cycle. Like even as you advance through the stages of meditation towards developing calm abiding, shine, shamatha, there's times when you're in, level 3 or stage 3, and then you'll dip down into 2 again. You might pop up into 4, but then down to 2. And so it's not a straight line. You go like this. It's jagged. So you get little tastes of a higher stage. And those little tastes, they're very nice. You feel like, oh, I recognize that after meditation, of course. Oh, I made it to stage 4. That's cool. I was in 3 most of the time, but I had a little moment of stage 4, and that gives you the motivation to keep on going. So it's the same way with these higher levels in the form and formless realm. You get little tastes of the next higher level, and you think, whoa, that is really great. I'm going to keep on meditating, and I want to be in that state. And you keep on going up and up and up. So when you're here in the desire realm and you're in those at those levels of meditation, in the form and formless realm levels of meditation, that's called causal form realm or causal formless realm. You are by your mind being at that level of concentration, you are creating the causes to be born in that level of the form or formless realm. So people here in the desire realm who are doing causal form and formless realm meditations will have the result of being born in the form or formless realm. While you are in a form or formless realm meditation, you do not have any attraction to objects of the senses. Your mind is very withdrawn from your physical senses, right? Your mind is still and in, I guess you'd say, in the side, even though it's not a physical thing. It can't be inside or outside. Those are just metaphors. But we've withdrawn our mind so much to one object of mind that the other senses for this physical bag of bones, we're not even aware of their existence at that time. We are so focused on our object of meditation that there's no sight or sound or smell or taste or physical sensation. It's just the experience of the object at more and more subtle levels. And this is called Jiraki Nampa Chen. You move to this is basis. This is related to whether something is coarse or subtle. So this phrase means that you're moving from less subtle to more subtle levels, and you keep on doing that. Now, so when you're in those states of meditation, you don't have desire to be in this life because you are so, your mind is so focused, so subtle, engaged with its object of meditation. So you're not thinking about ice cream, you're not thinking about sex, you're not thinking about food, unless, of course, that happens to be your object of meditation. So remember, this doesn't have to be from a Buddhist perspective. This is just a meditation is a tool that anybody can use. Anyone, Buddhist or not, can reach these higher levels of subtlety of mind. But most likely it's something like the breath. Or the space between breaths is a place that's very still. After the out breath and before the in breath, that's very still. Body's not moving. So there's no physical sensation. It's just a space. It is, in a way, an emptiness. There is an absence of movement. There's an absence of breath. It's not the emptiness that's going to get us out of samsara. But that can be a very still, stable object of meditation for someone who just wants to go through these higher levels of meditation. Okay. So that's the worldly path. It may feel like, even when you come out, let's say you've done a retreat and, oh gosh, you reached formless realm level 2 in your meditation, and you spent a month there or something. When you come out, you probably are still not interested in worldly things. There's a sort of, I don't know, afterglow. This happens in any kind of retreat, really, or any kind of practice where you do this practice over time. Yoga retreat, meditation retreat. When you finish, you come out. There's a satisfaction. There's not a grasping to things. Not so interested in loud conversation or loud parties or being in a busy city, or you like it quiet and calm. Feels good, want to stay there. So it feels like, oh, I'm beyond desire. I did it. I was in second level of the formless realm. But it won't last. It won't last. We are here in the desire realm. Pleasant experiences don't last. So, what's the other way? The other way is Jikten Lendepelam. Say Jikten Lendepe Lam. Lendepa those of you who are studying Tibetan are probably familiar with this word. It means beyond. And it's the word that they use for nirvana. It's part of the word for nirvana. Lendepe, you've gone beyond. So this is a path that has gone beyond, has transcended the world. So it's not that you're just going to higher and higher levels of meditation, but there's what you're doing is, and you know, whether this is done in meditation or not is, well, we'll get there. But the main thing with the path beyond the world is that you are investigating, you are exploring, you are understanding what selflessness means. What did the Buddha mean when he said that things don't have a nature of having a self from their own side? Now, we do this in meditation. If you have not reached Shine, calm abiding, shamatha, we can meditate on emptiness at any of the stages of meditation, Master Kamalashila's stages of meditation. But as I said earlier, there is this one point at the it has a name. Where did I put that? Did I put that here? Oh, here it is. The name of this first, the preliminary level to the first level in the form realm, it's called Samten Dangpoi Nirdok Michokme. That's a mouthful. You don't have to say that. But that is the level, the name of the level that if we turn our mind to emptiness, to selflessness, we become an Arya. We have a direct experience of selflessness, of emptiness. And I just use those two words, like from the Hinayana point of view, they use the word selfless. From the Mahayana point of view, they use the word emptiness. But we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about the absence of things existing from their own side, that nothing has a nature of its own. So that is our object of meditation. And when at that level, when we have that direct experience, then we are an Arya. We are a being who has entered the stream. We will reach either nirvana or Buddhahood, depending on our motivation. But we're going to get out of the realm of suffering for sure. So this is the path that transcends the world. Understanding selflessness. Now, how does it remove our desire for this life? On a more practical level, a more day-to-day level. When we understand that, I'm going to pretend that this is a bowl of ice cream. When we understand that this has no nature of being sweet and delicious and cool. Well, actually, it works for water too. From its own side. When I understand that, I don't have this burning desire to have it, to own it, to not be separated from it, which is what desire is, right? We talked about this earlier in the course. There are things that we want to be separated from, and there are things that we do not want to be separated from. We lose those kinds of thoughts, those desires, once we can see its emptiness. Now, for an Arya, this still appears to be something that is coming at me, right? An Arya does not yet see day to day the lack of a self-existence to things. They understand it because they've seen it. They understand it in such a way that they're never fooled. They're never tricked by a bowl of ice cream as thinking that it could give anything other than a temporary, that it could give anything at all without me having given ice cream to someone who wanted it. Right? I could never have the experience, a pleasant experience, without having created the karma of doing something that benefits somebody else. That's how I create pleasant experiences. The ice cream, whether or not it's a pleasant experience or a suffering experience, is totally related to how I've been with others in the past. What kind of karmic seeds did I plant? What kind of black karma and black and white karma did I create in the past? So even though it appears to an Arya that the ice cream is a pleasant thing, they know that it's only related to, at this point, right, their namin, the ripening of their karmic seeds into that experience. Okay, so those are the two ways to remove desire for this life. The first one, the worldly path, that can be practiced by Buddhist or non-Buddhist, doesn't matter, right? You don't have to be a Buddhist to reach different stages of meditation, higher and higher levels of meditation. For the second path, the path that transcends the world, that's exclusively Buddhist, because the idea of selflessness, the idea of the lack of a self-nature to things, is a Buddhist idea. You only find that in Buddhist teachings. Now we're going to talk about the path of karma. And path of karma is called lekilam. We've had all those words. Le is karma. Ki here means of, and lam means path. path of karma. And this presentation, we've been in Abhidharma for all of this class. Well, we've jumped out a couple times, but now we're going to jump out again. And we're going to, the reading at this point brings in an excerpt from Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chenmo, or Great Stages on the Path to Enlightenment, because he describes it so clearly. So the first of the path of karma is called Shi. Say Shi. And Shi here, it can mean different things, but here it means the object involved, the basis or the object involved. So if we think about path of karma, the path of karma is related to the 10 negative actions. And we had that list, right? Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, right? We had that list of 10. So if we look at this, what is the basis for the first, for killing? The basis or the object involved in the act of killing, the deed of killing, is the human or the fetus who is killed, the one we kill. We can talk about concentric circles. Killing an animal or an insect is also an act of killing, but in a concentric circle sort of way. It's not as powerful in negative karma. It's still a negative act to take away the life of another being, because every living being has the potential of becoming enlightened. Maybe not in this life, but in some future life. And by killing them, you don't know where you're sending them. You don't know what life they're going to take next. You don't know if they're going to make it to be a human or maybe go down to the hell realm. So, killing an animal may not be a great thing. Anyway. The second of the 4 parts of a path to karma is called sampa. Now, this may be starting to be familiar to those of you. I think Geshe Michael talks about this in the DCI courses, if you've taken those. Sampa is the second one. And sampa means the thinking involved. This refers to different things, which we'll talk about in a minute, but primarily it has to do with your motivation. Why are you killing? What is motivating you to kill? The third of the 4 paths is called jorwa. Jorwa. And jorwa means to do the deed, to kill. You've taken the life. So whichever of the 10 we're talking about, you're doing it. Sometimes this is talked about when you talk about a path of karma. This can also include preparing to kill, like, for example, going to the store, buying a gun, buying ammunition, going to a shooting range, learning how to shoot, things that you do in preparation of doing the deed that contribute to your doing the deed. But primarily it means actually doing the deed, actually killing in this case. And then the last of the 4 paths is called tartuk, or completion of the deed. You did it. So this is doing, and this is did. There's doing the deed and then having done the deed. The reason there's a difference is that, like, not always is you're doing something successful. So in the case of killing, maybe what happens is, you shoot them with the gun and it hits them. It doesn't hit them in the heart, it hits them in the stomach. And they have to go to the hospital, they're in a coma and they've lost a lot of blood, but they're not dead. And it takes them months and months to die. So you didn't reach the fourth path, completion, until the person actually dies. So these four paths, if any one of them is missing, it's an incomplete path. Having all four paths means it's a complete path. There's one that some schools talk about called juk, which means like when we do coffee meditation and you think back earlier in the day about the positive things you've done and you rejoice in having done them, that's juk. That's taking ownership. I did that. I did that. Now we're going to look at the second one, tsampa, in more detail. Tsampa. And it has three parts that Geshe Kappa highlights for us. The first one is called Geshe. And this means conception. So this would be involved with, these are all interrelated, but you have the conception, I want to kill my mother. And then in your jorwa, in when you're doing the deed, when you're killing your mother, you have like identified the person that you're killing, the she, the object of the deed, as your mother. It's not someone who looks like your mother. It is indeed your mother. So there's this idea of what the object is, identifying the object, and then like a confirmation that it's the object you previously thought about, right? In the sense of person that you want to kill, you know who that person is and that you've identified that, yep, this is the person. Then the second part that Geshe Kappa talks about is nyomon. Nyomon. And that's negative thought. That's your klesha in Sanskrit. And also, duksum, which means the three poisons. So, liking, ignorant disliking, and ignorance. Those are the three poisons. So that those thoughts are in your mind. So not every one of the 10 negative actions has all 3 poisons, for example. Like, and some may have just one, some may have more than one going on. If you are cheating on your partner, it could be because you are ignorantly liking some other person and you want to, you want there to be no separation between you. Or it could be because you ignorantly dislike your existing partner and you want to make them jealous or you want to make them mad. So you could be doing it for different, you could have different of the 3 poisons running wilder in your mind at the time. And then the third is called kunlong. Kunlong, and that means motivation. What is your intention? And this is where things can be a little lighter. It's not a complete karmic path if you don't have a strong motivation. So, for example, if you are driving a car and you hit a person and they die, if you didn't have the motivation before you got into the car, I want to find a human being, doesn't matter who they are, and I want to kill them with my car. That's why I'm getting in my car, and that's why I'm going out driving right now. And we know some people do this. We've heard the horrific stories of people who are killing people with their cars on purpose. If you are driving and, let's just say it's a bicyclist on the same road as you, they hit a pothole and it makes their bike turn and it turns right in front of your car, right as you're coming up, and you hit them and they die. You didn't have the motivation. You didn't have the thought, I'm driving today because I want to hit and kill somebody. No, you were going to the store or whatever you were doing. So that's not a complete path in this case, right? You didn't have that motivation. Motivation plays a very strong role in karma. Why are we doing what we're doing? The more clear and specific we are when we're doing positive things, the more powerful we make those karmic seeds that were planted. In the reading, it mentions that what do you call it? Ethical considerations, like moral conundrums. Someone asked the question, what if you're a person who lives in a country that is bombing another country? Or what if you're a person who lives in a country that is providing weapons to another country that is at war with another country? What kind of karma do I create as that person? My tax dollars supporting that activity. And there's a if you're doing the Tibetan track on these homeworks and quizzes, this is what you should memorize. Makla sokpar dunchir chikchir tamche chepapo shinden, which means they all get the same karma as the one who does the deed, since they are all engaged in a common goal, in the case of war or the like. So, this has big implications, not only countries at war with each other, but say you work for a company and you see, I had a friend who worked at a research, she's a scientist, and she worked at a research laboratory. And she saw that the company's practices were giving inaccurate results, that the tests were giving false positives, which is a really bad thing in science, especially when you're talking about medication. Does this cure disease? Yes, it cures a disease, but no, it's actually, they were false positives. They didn't have the data to support the conclusion that the medication was curing disease. So anyway, she was like a whistleblower. She couldn't stand to work for a company that was doing that kind of harm, lying about the efficacy of its medication to people, causing them to die or get sicker. So it's something we should think about in the situations that we're in, how closely associated are we with those who are doing harm to other people? Like when I pay my taxes, I write down, this is only for education, infrastructure, healthcare, no war. My tax dollars don't go to the war account. Now, the last question for today in this class is, what's the difference between a karma and a path of karma? And the reading has this line, Nabsen Soki Ki Sun Chuchen. Let's consider the three negative actions of mind: coveting, ill will, and wrong view. Are they a karma? Are they a path of karma? So we make this distinction. So our author says, who's the first Dalai Lama, he says they are a path of action because they function to move the mind. They motivate the movement of the mind. They motivate the mind to create a karma. But they themselves are a path of karma. Now, this is a little tricky, and I think that it's just going to take time to spend with this idea and think about the different possibilities. And I'll give you three possibilities. There is something that is both a karma and a path of karma. And those are the lung ngak dung. Those are the 7 of the 10 negative actions related to body and speech. We just went through killing, for example. That's the first negative action related to body. Is there something that is a karma, but not a path of karma? And that is sempa. That is movement of the mind. That's a karma, but not a path of karma. And then is there something which is a path of karma, but not a karma? And those are those last 3 of the 10 negative actions: coveting, ill will, and wrong views. So read the reading, spend some time thinking about it. Go over what is a path of karma and those different parts of a path of karma. Go over the previous ideas we've had about what is a karma, and think about the relationship between the two. So I apologize for going over time. I will endeavor to do better in the future. So please, when after we leave, please do take the energy of our work here today and dedicate it towards your highest goals. May you reach them quickly. Thank you, live translators. You're amazing. I love you. Thank you, ACI technicians, for making this possible. And thank you, Geshe Michael, for putting these courses together. We have no class on Friday. So I'm heading to Mexico for Geshe Michael's teachings. So our next class will be a week from today, next Wednesday. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, and Utpala. Thank you for your teaching. Please
stay.
stay.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, teacher.
Oh, that's a small voice. Thank you. Okay, see you next week.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.